Hello everyone, and welcome back to 4KB Shorts Let's Play of Kerbal Space Program with Kerbal Space Adventures. As you can see with all the little pop-ups, I do have a ship in the VAB at this moment. By the name up there, you can see that it's called Dune Base Alpha, and this is it. So, this is a ship that we're going to be taking to Duna. Now, it's currently unmanned. It can carry up to 4 Kerbals. It is currently unmanned, but it is mostly for the food. And as you can see, it has 4 sets of food, water, and oxygen. Now, in order to get this to Duna, we will have to put an engine on it, which we will put in orbit here in Kerbin. And then we're going to take it out to Duna, where we're going to hopefully safely land it. Maybe. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and we are in fact going to, well, I'm going to go ahead and get this thing in orbit. Then we're going to go ahead and get the engine in orbit, and then once I dock those two things together, we're going to head out to Duna, and we're going to try to land this thing at the landing coordinates that we chose during the last episode. And normally I'd show myself building something like this, but as you can see, it is actually rather complex. It has a Kerbal attachment system. It has a Kerbal attachment system container, which has some attachments in it. And I did have to build it in several different ways in order to incorporate all the parts, including living and everything else. So again, no Kerbals are going to go on this particular trip. It is all going to be automated, but it is going to land on Duna and then be there as sort of a refueling slash waiting post, basically. It's just going to be like the first part of a nice little base. And then we have one more object we want to send after this, as well as our Kerbal, so it's going to be super awesome. But I have to go ahead and get this thing into orbit, and then from there we're going to get the engine up in orbit so we can get it, get them docked together and then get it moving out to Duna. And then once that's done, we are going to head out to Duna, and we're going to just drop this thing off, hopefully at the landing coordinates that we chose. So I will see you guys most likely in orbit when we're about to dock this to the other ship, because that's going to be the most important thing. Getting this up there is not going to be that hard, and if it fails, it's going to be an easy thing to fix. By docking the two ships together, that's going to be super important, and then from there, we're going to head out to Duna, and then we'll just show the landing. So hopefully that'll be fun and great and good. And I know a lot of people are like, "Hey, KB, you should show yourself making things like this," but it took me like 2 hours to make this, and there's no way I could cut that down and do a video. Not really, anyway. So yeah, so it's not really something I could really show building, but I did want to show it to you guys because I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of heads up of what we were taking into orbit and what we're taking to Duna and how it's going to work. And then we will do all the important stuff. So I'll see you guys in orbit during docking. Alright everybody, here we are in orbit, just now crossing over to the dark side, unfortunately the dark side of Kerbin, as you can see. But we do have both the engine module as well as the Duna base, or well, I called it Dune Base Alpha for the purpose of calling it, Moon Base Alpha, but I called it Dune Base Alpha. But as you can see, we are heading right for it. Now, it's going to take a little bit of time to get there because we are, of course, dealing with just a little bit of RCS, and we have about 73 units left. So, we're about 100 meters away. Now, I could speed up the process, but I don't think that's the best idea at the moment, just for safety purposes. I forgot an SAS unit on here. I forgot the advanced SAS unit, which was really my fault for that. I should not have forgotten it, but I did. I did forget it. And so because of that, we have a light, as you can see. We do have a light on the nose, but it's not exactly aimed properly either. So we're kind of running a little bit on luck and a little bit on hope, I suppose you can say. And so we're just going to kind of progress forward, nice and slow. Luckily, we did come in such a way that our initial trajectory towards the ship, as you can see, there's a fuel tank out that way, and then there's another fuel tank out this way. But our initial trajectory to the Dune base is pretty good. The only thing we're having some trouble with is we are having a little bit of trouble centering ourselves on the ship itself. I'm not in chase cam right now, so I am just kind of doing this by sight more than anything. And it looks to me like we may have to change this up a little bit because we are a little bit off center. And I'm actually flying this thing backwards. Get a little bit upside down. Backwards and a little bit upside down. So we are coming in at almost 1 meter per second, which is never a good sign. So let's go ahead and slow that down a little bit. So we have a little bit of light on there, not a lot. It's just from the 1-point light, unfortunately. So we do have to use our eyes a little bit more than normal and hope for the best. Okay, so it looks like we're pretty set. We might be a little bit off center. Wrong way. There we go. All right, and where are we? Are we good? We look pretty good. Can't say 100%. We might be a little off. Okay, let's... Oh, nope. Looks like they're trying. Okay, there we go. There we go. So they should be able to connect together just about right. And let's turn off our RCS and our SAS and let's see if they can get together. And there it is. Perfect. So now we have the two pieces together. We have both the dune base and the engine. Now, as you can see, the engine is a very large nuclear deal here. We have our big fuel tank here, which we used a little bit of fuel of in order to get, not into orbit, but get to a point where we can orbit with this little guy here. We have a secondary fuel tank here, a power generator, a nuclear reactor, and our thruster. Now, I did do some initial testing, and I'm hoping when I click here that we will have enough fuel to get out to Duna. And it looks like we will, provided all of our staging kind of got a little bit messed up. So let's go ahead and take all this. We're going to bring this down. We're going to bring it down here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to leave that there. Now that should give us 4,303. I want to make sure we absolutely do something very important, which is to disable crossfeed. And the reason for that is because I do not want, at all ever, I do not want the fuel from the lander being used to power the ship, and I think that's, yes, okay. So we have disabled the crossfeed, so we don't have to worry about that any longer. We do have a little bright spot there, but that's okay. We can probably turn that off. If nothing else, we're going to turn that light off. And there we go. So we do have that. All right, so we have 4,303 delta V with an 8-minute, I suppose, burn. That should do us okay. I'm hoping that will do us okay. That's more than enough to get to Duna, provided everything works. So let me go ahead and get everything set up, and I think what we're going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and burn out to Duna, and provided everything goes 100%, which it should absolutely without any problems, we will in fact be on our way. Wait, actually, now that I think about it, I thought about this while launching. It made me a little bit nervous, but now that I think about it, yes, we have a little bit of a problem. 50 million meters. 50 million meters. That is our longest non-passive antenna, and our longest passive antenna is 20 million meters? 10 million meters. With remote tech, we won't be able to get out of Kerbal orbit. That's going to be a bit of an issue. Okay, so it looks like we have a teeny tiny problem. As it pertains to the dishes. I was launching it and I thought about it, and I'd originally stuck the dishes on there, and then I had to redesign it, and when I did that I realized unfortunately that those dishes were not on the main ship, and for whatever reason it has a spin problem. It has this really big spin issue. I don't know what's causing that, but it looks like what we're gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to figure out whether or not Kerbal attachment system works with the satellite dish, and if it does, we might be able to come out here with a Kerbal and do a rather quick, ugly repair job by jamming a couple of satellite dish on here, I hope. So I'll have to test that. I'm going to go ahead and test that off camera, see if I can get that to work. If I can, that's great. If not, I'm going to have to redesign and relaunch the engine module, which is going to be a little bit of a pain, but at least it gives us something interesting to do, and maybe we can bring up a Kerbal and make sure that everything's working fine. So, for now, I'm going to go ahead and drop back down to the VAB and get all that put together, and then I will either see you guys up here with a Kerbal, or I will see you guys up here with a corrected spaceship that has satellite dishes on it. So I'll see you guys here. Alright everybody, here we are, and it appears that Claus is a gentleman who we are very happy to have come out here into space in order to fix the communications issue. Now, I didn't test specifically whether or not these would work. However, I do know that the Communitron 8888 fits inside of the Kerbal attachment system case here, this little guy. And I put two of them in there, and the reason I put two of them in there is so that we could have two attached to the ship. And to do that, what we need to do is we need to open the container, and we need to take one of the Communitrons. Alright, now we're going to close that. Now we're going to have Claus head on over. Now he's going to head over to the spaceship here. And we're going to do this twice because what I was going to do initially is, since this is a nuclear reactor with power and everything else, it's basically a perfectly functional satellite even if it has no fuel in it. So I was thinking that for the purposes of landing the Dune Base Alpha, as well as just basically keeping something in orbit around the station, or for landing the Dune Base Alpha, we would need connection to the orbital ships. Now the orbital ships are over 500 kilometers away, meaning that the active antennas and the passive antennas won't really work, and if we try to open the active antennas on the way down, they'll break off. So because of that, we need a low range relay like at Duna's atmosphere, and that's what this guy here was supposed to be for. And I forgot the antennas, and that was totally my fault. So what we're going to do is we're going to have Claus here, and he's going to come on over, and he's just going to attach a couple of antennae to the ship here, the Dune Recovery, the Dune Mover. I forget what I called it exactly. Anyway, it's the ship that's going to be moving the Dune base Alpha over to Duna, and he's just going to come over here and he's going to plant one of these guys somewhere on the boat. So let's go ahead and attach. We're not going to activate, we just want to attach it, and we're just going to attach it like right here, I think. And that's one, so we're just going to attach right there. Now, we have to do this almost even. I mean, we're out in space, they're not very heavy, we don't really have to worry too much about the drag or about the weight distribution, but we would like to put one roughly on each side of the ship, just in case. So we're gonna have Claus head all the way back over here. Now there's about 50 clicks away, or 50 meters away, excuse me, not 50 clicks, a click is a kilometer, about 0.5 or 0.05 clicks. Anyway, it's about 50 meters away, but they are drifting slowly apart, so we do have to be a little bit cautious, a little bit careful, and I can't use too much RCS or bad things could happen. So we're going to go ahead and open it. We're going to take the second one out. We're going to close up, and then we're going to just turn around and head back. Now, I know that since it's space, you don't actually have to face which direction you're going. You can just thrust in whatever direction you wish to progress, but I'm a classic thinker, and to me, you should always at least see where you're going, if nothing else. I mean, if Kerbals had cameras on the back of their helmets, fine. But unfortunately, Claus is not equipped with such a thing, and so he is forced to guesstimate, I guess you can say, or at least he's forced to look in the direction that he's progressing. Plus, that's where his headlights are, and we are going to need them on the dark side of this particular unit. Now, we put the first one between those two lights, and it wasn't perfectly centered, but again, it does not have to be. This is not a VAB exercise. We are in orbit, and we want to get everything lined up as close as possible, but we're not going to worry too much if it doesn't happen. Alright, so we're going to back off a little bit, just gently back off, and then down, and so we're not going to get it perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to attach, and we're just going to go ahead and get hopefully close enough, there it is, and just put that there, and there it is. So now we have two communitrons attached. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Careful, buddy. Klaus is about to bonk his head on a thermal reduction plate there. I'm hoping that that wasn't going to happen, or he'd burn himself to death, or maybe, I don't know. So now we have two very inappropriately placed, it's going to bug me, but two very inappropriately placed Communitron 8888s, which have, I believe it's 50 gajillion yeah, something like. Anyway, they are long enough. They're the same antennae we have on our orbiting satellites here, as well as the ones over at Duna, so I know that they'll reach. And even if they don't reach, for whatever reason, they don't reach from here to Duna, the ones at Duna will reach from there to here. So as long as we get our initial burn set, even if there's a gap between, we'll be perfectly set between the two. And I thought about that with the passive antennas, but I'd rather not take the chance of not being able to do a maneuver, a makeup maneuver, last minute. So I decided that it was probably safer to have the communitrons on there, and that's exactly what we did. So that was it. That was wonderful. Claus did a great job. Just straight up EVA, click, click, done, done. Took a little bit of effort to get out here, but not a problem at all. And so I am going to go ahead and take Claus back down to the surface where it's nice and safe. And of course, we just have a standard ship up here. It took like nothing to bring him up here. This is the entire rocket minus the asparagus staging on the outside. And there were 6 cylinders, and that was it. It was just so easy to get him up here, and we have so much fuel left over. But as you can see, we now have the ship all set up and ready to rock and roll. And now we can actually do our burn to get it to Duna. And I will do that after we get Claus back to the surface. And we, of course, will absolutely see each other most likely around Duna, so I will see you guys there. Alright everybody, here we are around Duna, and as you can see, we have a bit of an encounter with Ike, unfortunately. We actually didn't encounter Ike on the way in. This was a result of a new maneuver node in order to slow us down. And for that reason, what has happened is we have lost well, we haven't lost anything. What's going to happen is our orbit's going to drop us down to about 55 kilometers over the top of Duna, which is great. But because of our encounter with Ike, we are in fact going to be gaining a teeny tiny bit of speed enough to put our orbit a couple of million meters out into space, and that is a little bit of an issue. And so because of that, I have added a maneuver node, which is going to cost us a 462.8 meter per second burn. I forgot the SAS unit on this thing, so maneuvering it around is a complete pain in the rear. And so as you can see, I'm trying to get us back in line with our little blue dot here, and we're going to go ahead and lock that in with some time warp. Now we're going to time warp our way around Ike, so we're going to actually get an encounter with Ike here in a second. We're not in orbit just yet. There it is. So we're now in orbit around Ike. Our maneuver node has changed, but it should return to its previous position once we're outside of Ike's orbit. So it's going to be about 900,000 meters. It does alter our course a little bit, but as long as the maneuver nodes are correct, it shouldn't alter our course to the point of being highly destructive. There shouldn't be any issue with it. But we are in fact around Ike for now, the great protector of Duna, if no other name shall suit it. Okay, so it looks like our apoapsis has in fact changed slightly. Alrighty then, so that's going to be a bit of an issue. Now to get that up, I need to go which way? The other direction. I thought that might be a problem. So as you can see, it's going to be, periapsis height is 53. Oh, okay, periapsis height. And we're going to reach our periapsis first. Okay, so our apoapsis height is 34.5 thousand kilometers, or I believe that's 34 million meters, which is not good. Now, as you can see, it takes a little bit of time to get to this maneuver node. It helps if we do a time forward by about, 4 times time acceleration. And physically speaking, it works. It's a little unwieldy, and then we can kind of cheat our way into a complete stop like so. So a little bit cheaty, but without the SAS unit, which I forgot, it does become a little bit more difficult. Unlike the communitrons, which came in very handy, as a matter of fact. Unlike the communitrons, which we could attach, we can't attach any kind of SAS unit to the ship. So unfortunately, we do just have to do this the old-fashioned way, and that is by cheating, I guess, for lack of a better word. Not exactly cheating, but by doing some things that are otherwise not exactly 100%. Alright, so we're coming down to 53,000 meters, or 53 kilometers over the top of Duna. That will be in, in just a couple of seconds here. So we have gained a little bit of speed, but we only have to slow down, again, by about 366.1 meters per second. That's actually a lot less than previous. Let's go ahead and... this thing maneuvers like a log. It really does. I did very bad with that, and I'm wondering if that may affect our ability to land, but since we're landing kind of like a lump anyway, I'm hoping that won't be a problem. Now, it does say our estimated burn is at 2 minutes. I know that our burn is not going to be 2 minutes. 1,000 meter per second burn only took 1 minute, so this is going to take less than a minute of a burn to perform. Time to periapsis is about 1.2, so we can just kind of base it off of periapsis. We don't have to base it off of our actual maneuver node. It really just depends on how we want to do that. And so if we throttle up, it's going to take us about, as you can see, it takes us about 30, whoa, why are we wobbly? Why are we wobbly? I'm not entirely sure why the ship is wobbly like that, but it is. If I throttle up too quickly, it flips sideways. Luckily, though, the rocket engine that we are using is a gimbling engine, and the gimbling engine is able to hold the ship steady while burning, but as you can see, it's not exactly a straight burn. It's just kind of wobbling all over the place, and we should be, there we go. Alright, so we're just going to keep an eye on our apoapsis, which is now down to 300,000, 200,000. And I tried to get it by 53 by 51, but it probably won't be perfect because I didn't do a perfect burn. That's fine, we just need it to be roughly where we want it. 49, Gotta remember where Duna's atmosphere starts, and I think it actually starts pretty close to where we want to be. So let's tilt up very gently, very slowly tilt up. We can use our gimbling engine to give us a little bit of a push. I do have some RCS left in here for turning, but I kind of want to save that for an emergency situation in case one does crop up. Yeah, so to do this properly, we do have to kind of nose up a little bit. And up and up and up and up and up. Come on. So not the most 100% burn style that I wanted to do, and if we do this improperly, we will crash. And by crashing, I mean we will lose our antennae, we will lose everything, we will lose our ability to land completely. Okay, so that should be about right. So that should nose us up as well as bring our tail down. There you go. So rather inefficient burn, but not so bad as to be horrendous. 49 and 50. So there's our 50. Okay, we're bringing ourselves down. Like I said, I wanted it about 53 by 53 or whatever even is at this point. And that would be about there. 50 by 53, I am okay with that. Now, all we have to do is get into position to where our... Is there a light behind that? Oh, there is. Yeah, the lights are on. All the lights are on. We don't have very many lights. Turn off all the lights and turn back on. We have a couple of green lights here for the door. I did have a lot of lights on here, but I had to shift them and move them. So, in fact, the lander module does not have that many lights, which is unfortunate. But we are in a prograde orbit, which is great. We do have a lot of fuel left, which is also great, but not so much needed in the orbiter as it is in the lander. But what we can do is, what we're going to do is we're going to be able to communicate with the orbiter via the lander, and then that's how we're going to get the lander down safely to the ground. So we will go ahead and do that. Right after I figure out where we're going to land, I mean, I know where we're going to land, but I also have to figure out where that is on the map. And so because of that, and you know what? I forgot the satellite mapping module. So I'm gonna have to do it. I'm gonna have to eyeball it. But at least we know. At least we checked last time, and I do know exactly what the surface of the planet looks like in the area where we want to land. And at least that will give me an idea of where we can land. And it won't be perfect, but as long as it's in that general crater area, we should be fine. So I will go ahead and do that, and then I will see you guys when we're about ready to drop this guy back down onto the planet's surface. And so I will see you guys there. Alright everybody, here we are about ready to drop down onto Duna. Now if you take a look in the top left hand corner, I'm going to go ahead and point this out right away. There is no more remote tech, and the reason why is because on 3 separate occasions I have attempted to do this, and all 3 times it has bugged out on me and crashed the game. And it's because of remote tech, and I know that because of the build-up that leads to the crash is the same buildup that occurs in remote tech every time there's a crash. But for whatever reason, on this particular flight, it has been very, very hazardous. So I have removed the plugin, if not the parts, for that particular feature for remote tech 2, so that we can get this thing down onto the surface without there being that big of an issue. Don't know why it is being such a pain, but it is. The only thing that's not in there, I think, would be the... well, it's just basically the connectors. All the parts and everything are still intact. Everything should work just fine. But it's been just such a big pain that I've just removed it just for now. And I'm debating on whether or not we'll continue using it in the future, because Remote Tech 2 has been giving me a lot of problems. But since we are coming up on our landing zone, we're just going to go ahead and undock. And there we go. So that little guy just undocked a little teeny tiny bit. He should be drifting away, which he is. Perfect. Now we're going to make sure that our systems are working by pressing space, and there it is. Systems are working. Now from here, we're going to head to our map really quick, and we need to zoom in because I did have to reload, unfortunately, due to, like I said, it bugged out. Middle of recording, it bugs out on me. And we're going to bring ourselves down to about, say there-ish, maybe a little bit further in. We want to kind of come in at an angle, but we don't want to take too long. It's only going to be 4 minutes, but our drop zone is going to be pretty high. So this is where we want to land. Well, not where we want to land. This is where we're going to go, but we are going to traverse along this huge canyon here. So we're going to want to land here, and that's where our resupply base is going to be, of course. Now, I did have to tilt our orbit down, so we're at a slightly inclined orbit, but that is just fine. So let's take a look. Get off of our map screen. There we go. So it's going to be a 354 meter per second burn. So what I'd like to do here... first, let's go ahead and turn off our lights because we're no longer attached to that nuclear generator of goodness. And then we're going to gently turn our ship without breaking any parts off. There we go. Yeah, we're going to gently turn our ship. So again, I did have to turn off remote tech, and it like I said, about 3, 4, 5 times. I tried and tried and tried, and all the connection is working, and it was really bad. Here's the bad part. I'm flying the ship, and it loses connection for no reason. Same spot every time, and I think to myself, well, maybe it's me, maybe I'm doing something wrong with remote tech. Well, then I go to reload, not because I'm, save's coming or anything, but I go to reload just to check because I'm still learning remote tech. And when I reload, it comes up to this big black screen, and everything's broken, and I can't see, so I have to force crash the game. So I force crash the game. Let's go ahead and throttle up just a little teeny tiny bit to get us away from this guy. So there we go. So I force crash the game, and then once I force crash the game, and I come back into the game, and it's where it was when I left because it didn't do the reload. The ship is connected. is connected to remote tech. And so I'm like, okay, so it disconnects me and then it bugs out and then it reconnects me. So is the disconnect the bug or is the reconnect the bug? What's going on? And I really don't have the time or inclination to figure it out because this is like the 5th crash on this video by itself. It takes a lot of hours to fix something like that. Or it's been taking a lot of hours to get these videos done because remote tech extends the length of time that the game is being played. Even if it doesn't do so horrendously, it does so enough to be kind of an annoyance. And so because of that, I did have to remove it just for this little section. But I wanted to let you guys know absolutely straight up 100% so you guys didn't think that I was being all cheaty and weird. I'm really not. Honestly, I did it because it seemed appropriate. It seemed easier than trying to figure out whatever the bug is, because I am using a very hacked version of Remote Tech 2. My version was released roughly the same time as 0.23 was released, and it didn't work. And then somebody created a hotfix for it, and that hotfix is what I'm using. I'm not actually using any modern updated version of Remote Tech, and so because of that, there is a high potential chance that the hotfixed version of the game, or hotfixed version of Remote Tech that I'm using, is actually what's causing the issue. I do not know. I could not say. And so because of that, we'll just have to figure it out. Alright, so we have our drogue chutes here. There's 4 drogue chutes, so they shouldn't rip these off, I'm hoping. And then we have 6 pairs of parachutes all around the center to hold the center up, and I'm hoping that will be good enough to hold everything in place. If it's not, we're going to lose our landing gear and all of our food. Bad thing. Let's take a look at our orbit. So here's our orbit. So we will be coming down. Now we do have about 2,000 or so. Well, we did have about 2,000 or so. Now we have about 1685 meters per second of delta V. And our thrust to rate ratio on the surface is 2.526. That's 2.5, which is a lot. Almost enough to take off with. We're not going to, mind you. This is a one-time only landing craft. But it is almost enough to take off, which means we do have that option if it's needed, which it won't be. Now, as you can see, we don't have any of those wonderful things called heat shields. No heat shields. We are working sans heat shield. But the reason why is Duna's atmosphere is very, very thin, and we are only doing about 500 meters per second. And because of those 2 reasons, well, we will, of course, speed up a little bit. But because of those 2 reasons, our engines, as well as our parachutes, should keep us from burning up. If it doesn't, we'll be the first to know. I think, honestly, the things that will probably burn up more than anything else will be the lights. Quite possibly a few other parts and pieces may ignite, but I'm fairly certain that it won't be that bad. Now, where we're going to land is kind of random. We do want to land in this crater, but it honestly doesn't matter where in this crater that we want to land. The other thing is we do have to figure out how... Whoa, really? We were just holding position like with that? I love it. We're just holding position. Like our speed is not gaining nor slowing down. Alright, so the atmosphere should start to thicken up. Drogue chutes open up at 2,500. And minimum pressure is 0.07. Can I get lower than that? Alright, we're gonna minimize that pressure even lower. No. Lower pressure. Lower. The lower pressure, the better. Lower. Lower. And altitude will be 5,000? Oh, 5,000 I like. Alright, so we're gonna do minimum pressure. And we're going to upgrade those to 5,000. So that will hopefully slow us down better. Let's go ahead and ignite those now. And hopefully the minimum pressure works for us. I'm going to leave the other chutes where they are for the moment, just for safety purposes. I guess we can gear down. Cycle the gear. There they go. I had to cycle the gear, then gear down. There it is. Alright, so we're gonna slowly speed up our fuel here, our fuel consumption usage a little bit. Kind of slow ourselves down as much as possible. Oh, I hope these work. Please work. Please work, drogue chutes. I will love you forever if you work. I will be sad for always if you don't. Okay, 12. We could open the other parachutes, but I'm frightened that if they open, let's see, 500 feet is when they open. Minimum pressure is 1. Well, at least there's minimum pressure is down. Okay, there they go. And that should slow us down a little bit. Oh, we are way above the, we are not high enough above the surface. Let's go ahead and do that, and then throttle these up, because I think we're low enough to the ground where this may become a problem. Our actual altitude is much lower than yeah, we're about 500 feet off the ground. Oh, there we go. Hey, there we go. That's working. 70, 72, 68, 60. Let's turn off our SAS unit. 50, 53, 52, 51, 50. Alrighty then, look at that. The big chute's opened, and hey, there's Ike hanging there in the sky. Loving it, loving it, loving it. I can't see the ground. The ground, the ground is like, all I see is this big blur. Oh, it would have been really nice to land over there somewhere. Well, it looks flat. It's probably not flat. I can't, look at the ground. You can't even see the ground. The ground's like, nope, nope, not happening. So our actual altitude is about 600 meters, 500 meters, ooh, about 500 meters off the surface. So we are going to land on a little bit of a hill. Hopefully it won't be too bad of a hill, but it's a little bit of a hill. Yeah, there's really no place super flat to land here, but our chutes worked great. They slowed us way down, 31 meters per second, and our big chutes haven't even opened yet. These little guys haven't even opened yet because we're not technically 500 meters off the surface. So that is really awesome. Those should open up about 1,000 meters, I think, but we've already slowed down with the drogue chutes by a ton. And we're still slowing down. I'm so very proud of that. So very proud of that. It was such a great build. Such a great design. Working really, really, really wonderful for us. So hopefully we make it to the ground. And we have half our fuel left. We have half our fuel left. So if we ever need half our fuel, haha, we have half our fuel left. Now, if we take a look at this, yeah, look at that. Our tanks are like so stoked full of fuel. Probably couldn't take off with all of this, but it's nice to have it just in case we wanted to. Okay, let's take a look at our surface information. That'll be like 1.4. We're coming down super slow now. Super slow. Are these blocked? I don't know if these get blocked. Do they get blocked? Nope, they don't get blocked by parachutes. So they're technically, yeah, it's noon, so so the power is directly above our head. And Ike was hanging out around here, so there he is. There's Ike. Ike! So we are landing in a hemisphere that can see Ike, and I do love that. I love that so much, being able to see Ike. It's so saddening, so upsetting when you go to a section of Duna and you're like, I can't see Ike, and it's just, the sky looks so barren. Okay. Speaking of barren, our shadow! Speaking of barren, now we can see the ground. Okay, so maybe we can get an idea of how tilty this ground is. It looks like it may be slightly more tilty than I like. Oh, let's stage lock. We're going to stage lock in case I accidentally hit spacebar for whatever reason, which has happened. Oh, is our other parachutes open? Hey, our other parachutes have opened. We're coming down at 10.5 meters per second. I have never landed so softly on Duna ever. That's so awesome. I'm so proud of this design. It's such a great design. And again, it is just a base. That's all it is. It is the Dune base alpha. It is here for refuel, resupply, refund, all sorts of stuff. We should be able to open these without them tearing off now. And again, I did remove remote tech, but you know what? We are going to open these anyway, because that is how I do. Or we would open them, but apparently they don't work now. So apparently by removing the plugin, I unfortunately borked the ability for the plugin to do its thing. So we're going to kind of slow down a little bit more. Eek! Oh, a little bit of a hard hit. But we landed, and we're a little crooked, but we landed nice and flat. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. One Dune base alpha, and just for funsies, let's go ahead and extend the ladder for the crew that will eventually come to Duna and operate this base. We will let them come here, and they will have the ladder extended so they don't have to do it themselves. Super awesome. And if we take a look at our TAC life support, it shows us nothing because there's no one in it. But I can tell you that with 4 Kerbals, there's about 240 days worth of food, water, and oxygen in this thing. And that's because we have 4 of these guys here, which is 240, 4 of these, and 4 of these, all 240. So like basically 1 stack per Kerbal that can fit inside the main body here. And then of course there's 1 day each for each Kerbal inside for emergency purposes. And then all the solar panels up top, which should be more than enough to power all the ship, because as you can see, now we do have waste heat. As you can see, we do have waste heat, but it is going down because we're actually venting waste out of these. We're venting waste heat out of these little guys, so they are working for us, which is totally awesome. Wonderful, wonderful. But that was great. That was great. Again, I did have to disable remote tech. I'm almost thinking to keep it disabled and just run without it, because it has been causing way too many problems for the recording purposes. And although it's really awesome to have and it makes the game really awesome to play, it's not really that great when it comes to recording things, because when you attempt to record things with things like remote tech, which lengthen the time that it takes to do things and stuff like that, it becomes more of a pain than it is entertaining. So that may be something I leave offline, but we will still be treating the game as if it does. We may not be making entire satellite systems around Joule or anything like that, I don't think, but I find that the limitations are a lot higher for remote tech than I thought they would be. More so than they are with TAC life support, because at least with TAC life support, you know what you're getting, that kind of thing. So I'm thinking that we're just going to cut that out. But we are going to leave this here, and we have one more ship that we need to bring. I'm debating on whether or not we're going to bring it with the Kerbals or without. I'm thinking with... out and then bring the Kerbals 50-50. We'll have to figure it out. But before that, we're going to go ahead and pause here because, you know, we did something awesome and we finally have another base started on Duna. Totally wicked, right? Right. And so once again, I would like to thank you all very, 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 very much for joining me, 4KB Short, on this Let's Play of Kerbal Space Program and Kerbal Space Adventures. And I will see you guys next video.